All right, are we live? Are we rocking and rolling? I think we are. It says up there live in 6 seconds. So welcome everybody to the latest Fishing with G show. And this is a live stream. So this is a live show and I've got a very special guest for us today. I've got that man, Hassan Khan, is going to be coming onto the show in just a minute. We're going to be catching up, having loads of banter, seeing what he's been up to. And yeah, just having a bit of a chin wag. But it's really important, people, that when we do these live streams, that you at home interact, okay? I can see I've got a couple of people watching now. We're going to wait a little while for a few more people to come on. But what I need you to do, and this really helps the little YouTube algorithm. Remember, we've got to pet the algorithm, make sure we keep it nice and happy, is I need you to go and put a little thumbs up, a little subscribe on the YouTube channel, and also put a comment inside the comment box. So whether you are watching this on Facebook or on YouTube, do me a favor, go onto the comments, let me know that the comments are working, and just write a little comment, say hello, so I know it's working. And whilst you were doing that, we are going to get the theme tune rolling, because we've always got to have our little theme tune rolling when we start with our Fishing with G. So we start with the little drums coming in. What have we got here then? What have we got here? Oh, a little bit of bass. It's coming in with a little bit of bass. Right. Have I got anyone watching this show? Put a comment in there. Let me know that this is working, people. I need to be able to see that we are going to be able to have a chat, because it is pissing down with rain outside. I'm sat in my shed. And we need to have a bit of banter and a bit of interaction, people. So let's see what is happening. Right, what have I got in here? Let's bring these clicks in, shall we? Aha, yes! Here we go. Mark's channel looks okay to me. Brilliant, Mark. Thank you very much for putting that comment in. Hopefully you can hear me okay. I've got the mic set up a bit differently this time. So I've actually got a proper mic above my head here. Hopefully you can hear me okay. We've got Mark there. Looks like he's coming through YouTube, which is wicked. So that is working nicely. Anyone else out there? We've got 5 people watching at the moment. Right, let's have our little, should we get some vocals in for the actual theme tune for real, shall we? Here we go. It's Fishing with G. Come fish with me. If you like what you see, subscribe. It's Fishing with G. Remember, hit that subscribe button, people. We need to get some subscriptions going on this one. So don't have to pay for it, it's free. Subscribe. It's Fishing with G. Come fish with me. If you like what you see, subscribe. Right. That's enough of that nonsense, people. We've got a few people watching. There we go. We've got a few more people coming on. Do me a favour, everyone, just drop a little comment if you're on Facebook, just so I know that Facebook is working and the other channels as well. Because I don't actually know if this is working or not in Facebook. So drop me a message, anything, just G, it's working, something like that, I can hear you. That'll be perfect. Right, let's bring this down a little bit so we can have a little chat, shall we? There we go, that's a much nicer level, isn't it? Right. Still no more comments coming through. Hopefully you can hear me. Hopefully you can comment, but let's crack on, shall we? Right. Welcome to the show, everyone. Let's bring this down a little bit. Let's move this music out. That's enough of that nonsense. Now, if I'm looking over this way, that's because that's where my screen is. But really, I'm talking to you out there, people. So welcome to the Fishing with G show. This is about the 4th live stream I've done. I've done a few other videos as well. The challenge series is going really, really well. That's where I go out, and this year I'm just using one set of equipment to catch as many species as I possibly can. Now, that has been really, really, really enjoyable, if I'm honest with you. It's like going back to basics and being a kid again. I was speaking to Hassan before we came on the show. It's a bit like, you know that feeling you've got when you've got your floater rods and you're just traveling really light. There's not loads of equipment to complicate things. You've got your rods, your reel, your net, your bag, a bit of bait, and you're going fishing. The challenge has been a bit like that. I'm not having to think and organize myself too much. It's just the kit is in the van. It's ready to go. I just make do with what I've got and I go and catch loads of different species with it. And it's been loads and loads of fun. But what I am going to do is, before we get onto some fun stuff with Hassan, I do need to go onto this. Yes. Look at that. Simple things in life, people. That makes me really happy when I click my fingers and that comes up. Chatting shit. Now, you may have seen, or hopefully you have seen, that I went up and met with Ollie Davies, and I caught up with him and we went and did some litter picking. Now, people got in touch with me, being a bit like, gee, why are you going litter picking? You know, like, oh, it's a bit like, you know, community service and stuff like that. I honestly I had a wonderful time with Ollie. But one thing that it did do, and it was really worrying, is it opened my eyes to the amount of litter that is around the UK at the moment, regardless of whether it's next to the lake, the river, the stream. You know, obviously that's where we go fishing. But just in general, people, there was so much litter out there. And yes, there was some anglers litter around the canals and the rivers that we cleared up, but it was just general crap that people were just throwing in the bushes, throwing in the river, just dropping on the floor. You know, dog bags filled with dog shit just being chucked everywhere. You know, like it was really worrying, really worrying. And I'm just putting it out there. I'm just having a little bit of a rant at the start of this one, and let me get it off my chest. But it's worth go and have a look at the video. It's on my YouTube channel, Fishing with G. Go onto my YouTube channel and have a little look at that, yeah, because it just highlights the problem we've got in the UK around litter. There's lots of campaigns like Keep Britain Tidy, Anglers Against Litter campaign, Anglers Against Pollution, all these different campaigns. But you know what? Campaigns don't mean anything unless people actually get behind them and get out there and do their bit and promote it. So please, please, please go and watch that video. All it takes is for you to put a litter picker in your bag like I'm doing, like Ollie's doing, picking up a couple of bags of rubbish, you know, when you leave the river, when you leave the lake or something, put it in the bin and then just put it on social media and tag one of those campaigns in it, because together we can make a difference, and a difference needs to be made, people. So anyway, that is me off of my soapbox. Let's get on to the next one. And actually put something in the comments. Oh, I've got a comment come up here. Oi, oi, G, hope you're good, bud. Yes, Gary. Hey, how you doing, Gary? Good to see you, mate. Hope you're out there catching a few. You always used to put a few fish on the bank. So, yeah, good to hear from you, mate. Yeah, so we've got the comments are working, it looks like. So let's get on to the next one. There we go. Special guest. Now, I've gone and got myself a supercharged coffee tonight. And the reason for that is that my kids have I've had chicken pox over the weekend, so I'm feeling a little bit tired, but also because my special guest is an absolute legend at presenting. I've got a lot to keep up with. He's not used to, I don't think he's used to being on this side of the camera lens, as it were. Normally he's sitting in my seat interviewing people and doing podcasts with people, but I've managed to flip it around the other way. And I have got Hassan waiting in the wings. Hassan, are you there?
I'm there. I hear it.
Yes.
Live from the bivvy, mate. How are you?
Live from the bivvy. I am all good, my friends. I am all good. How are you doing? You all good?
I'm living the dream, apart from I'm blanking hard. Spring carp fishing. It's absolutely chucking it with rain. It was boiling hot today. I've chased around this lake with worms, chucking them at their heads, zigs, little traps on the bottom, nothing. But they're out there. So if it goes during this live stream, mate, and you see me run off and drop this phone, I'll do what I need to do and then get back on.
That'll be the best bit of live streaming ever. Yeah, if we can get a live...
I'm trying.
A live take would be absolutely awesome. Or we were talking, there's a few rats around as well, so if we can get one of those live on camera, you know, that'd be
rats. And I've got to keep some mallards off my spot as well. This is hard work. Multitasking.
Multitasking, mate. Multitasking. Well, listen, Hassan, thank you very much for coming on to this show.
No, thank you.
You know, it's really, really good to see you. And obviously, you're out doing just as much fishing as always, which is really cool. Now, what I'd like to do, Hassan, if it's all right, is that I just want to find out, how did fishing start for you, my friend? Because I think a lot of people may have seen you the same as I did, where you came onto the scene with, I think it was Angling Direct, or maybe they've seen you through your Nash podcasting. But can you just tell me, how did you get into fishing? Where did you start? What age? You know, what sort of fishing did you do? Give us a little rundown before you were famous. Mate.
I'm not famous, mate. Slightest. Bit of a weird one, mate. Very weird. So no one fished in my family at all. I was just born absolutely categorically obsessed with fish. When I mean obsessed, like mum still regales tales of going to Asda, the fish counter, every Friday and buying like a taupe head and me taking it home and playing with it. Like, I don't know what was up with me. Like, there's still a lot up with me, to be fair, but I was always just obsessed by fish in every form. Like, used to take me to the aquarium, the fishmongers, do whatever. Don't know where it came from. No one really knows. Dad's side of the family, like, Afghan sort of. He came over when his father was killed in the Civil War, so there's no real fishing in terms of like recreational fishing background there. Mum's side of the family, nothing. But I just pestered the life out of my dad and said, "Look, I want to go fishing." I used to collect that. The Art of Fishing. Do you remember that? Do you remember the binder, the black binder with the pike on it? You got it.
This isn't scripted, people.
Oh, that's the one in it.
That one, yeah.
That image of that pike with that on deck spinner is, for me, like, it's just childhood. I used to collect them. Like, It's got everything in it. It's got sea fishing in the lot. But I used to collect them, be obsessed, mate. Oh,
look at that.
That's good nick.
That is a strong look, that there, isn't it? Yeah, and mate, they don't, like, honestly, for back in the, like, you know, this is back in the day. This is probably like what, 1990, like something like that.
Yeah,
I'd say
90s,
like 90s. But like, when I was doing my teaching at FLE, we used to use these as actual teaching aids because the maps and the content is so good. You know, like, it really, really is. But yeah,
mate, I've got one. Mate, that was the Bible. I used to get that every week for the news agent. Used to watch Go Fishing, Total Fishing. But I just basically pestered my dad, and I think Dad, he had a rep that worked for him that did a bit of fishing. Like, he was just a float angler, but we went. And I remember blanking like all the time. I didn't know what I was doing. Like, didn't even know how to set things up. Just going in like Adidas tracky bottoms and stuff. I just completely ill-equipped. Caught nothing, but just loved it and kept going. And then Leicester, where I was born and where I sort of started my fishing, like, there was it's called Shearsby Valley now, but it was called CJ's. And the bloke there who owned it, John, like, we went down, me and Dad, and we ain't got a clue. And like, he could have just gone, "Oh, mate, these two are absolute noddies. Like, I don't want them on my lake." Do you know what I mean? They don't know what they're doing. But he was so nice, like, taught us real basics, how to plumb the depth, how to like fish with different baits. And we ended up going through the usual, catching a few perch, then some roach, then some carp. And I think, like, I was just obsessed, mate. I did everything. I fished like open matches. And then after I did a bit of match fishing, I sort of, because it was Leicestershire, I did a bit of fly fishing because you got Ibrook, you got Rutland, you got a load of good trout reservoirs near. And shout out to Ivor Jones as well. Unfortunately, he's passed away this year, but he was a big help in that. Again, the same sort of, I didn't know what I was doing. I just loved it. And he was really sort of, I don't know, put your arm around you, do you know what I mean? And so taught you the way, sort of thing. And then I got into specimen carp fishing. And I think I can only say it's through Total Fishing, Matt Hayes, Greater Rod Race, John Wilson, magazines, that whole thing. It was that generation where I was like, "Oh, this is the one I want to catch a big one." Being in like Leicester, I mean, there weren't many big uns, but I caught a few 20-pounders locally. And then as soon as I started to drive, I was able to, with tennis, which is what I did, I was able to I had a fair bit of time off because I got knocked out of tournaments early. And I used to do a lot of fishing. I used to fish the Nene Valley. I fished Ringstead, Bluebell, fished Ex, and loads of different lakes around there pretty consistently. And with that, I sort of did a bit for carpology, sort of freelance when they sort of switched to digital. So I was doing some presenting for them. I was doing some short form writing for the Facebook page and like top 10 tip stuff. And I think, yeah, it was a weird sort of, I don't know, like a hybrid mix of, I finished playing tennis. I got a knee injury, came back, was never really going to make it to the ATP tour, but played at quite a decent level. But again, it's a bit of a sort of a young man's lifestyle. You travel around and you sort of win minimal money, but the lifestyle's brilliant. So I sort of had to get a proper job after that. And I didn't even know what to do. So I started a coaching company, as you do, because you know people in the sort of coaching game from playing. Did that, was very fortunate that went pretty well. Ended up selling that, met my missus Laura and moved up north. So I was carp fishing suicide moving up north, if you like, because you gone from catching sort of, you were slipping back 20s to up north, you like, 20 pounders the biggest in the lake. But yeah, did that whole move, and then it just sort of organically came that, and I think the best things in life always do, to be fair, it's just luck really, but timing was spot on, whereby I was doing a bit of freelance for carpology. I was working sort of as a head of house in a private school in Manchester. And I didn't really like education, that whole system and working in it. So I ended up sort of like basically applying for a job at Angling Direct as social media manager with absolutely jackal social media experience.
Yeah, nice.
And got in that way. So and then started working in the trade. But mate, when I think back at it, like, I don't know if you're the same, but there's so many like there's there's so many sort of coincidences or just like fits of just ridiculous timing or things that coincide to allow it to happen. Like, yeah, obviously you put yourself in those situations, but yeah, I'm very fortunate, mate, to be able to do what I love in terms of a job, but also like continue my fishing through. I know how busy and difficult life can be, especially now I've got a family, like 3 kids and stuff, and people who work normal jobs. Like, it's hard to get out and find time and in amongst everything else. So I've got the utmost respect to sort of people who go out there and do it. But yeah, man, I'm very fortunate. But in a whistle stop whirlwind way, that is pretty much in a nutshell how it all came to be. And now I'm in a bivvy here talking to you.
That's it, mate. You made it. You made it in life, Hassan. Eh? You're talking to me. I'm in a shed. You're in a tent, mate. We've made it.
We've made it, mate.
Don't worry about the professional tennis, career and stuff like that.
Who wants tennis? Who wants millions of pounds?
That's it. Who wants that, mate? Who wants that? Just a few things that I've picked up on there. One of them is going back to when you were a kid. I had a very, very similar situation where I just had a fascination with water. And I'm sure a lot of listeners out there, people watching this, will have the same thing, that it wasn't a family member. It wasn't someone that I knew, a neighbor or a granddad. It was literally, I walked past water and was fascinated by that water. I was just drawn to it. The fish counter as well. I remember the fish counter so well. I think ours was, where would it have been? It was before Asda's. I can't remember what it used to be called now. Safeways, I think it was, but they used to have a fish counter. That's it, Safeway. And go into the fish counter being besotted. But I think we've got to remember, and we all have to remember, that when we first started fishing, it did take those people to help us into the sport and, take you under their wing a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think it's just a reminder. Just want to put a reminder to be a little bit, I suppose, tolerant to people that are starting the sport. We're all, especially in the social media world, we're all quite quick to jump on people like, they haven't got an unhooking mat, or they're, look at that they're doing. But we've got to remember that unless fishing's not one of those things you can just watch it on TV and do it. It's not like football, where you give someone a football, they put it on the floor, kick it, and they can put a couple of jumpers down. You need to know what you're doing. And my role at the trust now with the coaching and stuff, and having run a coaching company, that obviously comes through and is important. But no, it's very, very, very similar to me and you, to the way we got into things. Very, very
weird,
similar.
Isn't it? It's weird because often, I spoke to, obviously you meet loads of people on the bank, you've got loads of mates who fish, and I think there's a handful of lads that are pretty similar, but most people, there's a family member or an elder who or a mate who sort of does that whole sort of process with them. I think the mega thing, especially for me, obviously I live up in Manchester, my family is still sort of in Leicester, but I go back and dad, bless him, he took me everywhere. So did mum, ferried me around everywhere fishing when you were young and you couldn't drive. But he loves a bit of fishing, mate. He loves a bit of pole fishing, and we go every Christmas, yeah, mate. And he sort of, I think he learnt to love it, but now he just genuinely want to go. Do you know what I mean? And it is one of those sports. I think there is a bit of a sort of stereotype, and I think so many people have said it to me. I've taken loads of people who've been like, that's boring or whatever, it's rubbish, load of old sweaty men in a tent, but they go and they love it, mate. So yeah, mate, there's a lot to be said for sort of, I don't know, representing the sport positively, whether that be on social media or whether that be wherever. If you see somebody who's struggling, rather than sort of, I don't know, having a go, like you say, maybe go and help them or engage them, because mate, we all need future anglers. We all need that bit at some point in our angling where somebody goes, oh mate, you probably want to just look at doing that next time or whatever. And we've all been in those situations where we haven't known the right thing to do necessarily. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, you bang on with that, mate, I think.
Exactly. What was you saying about your dad taking you fishing? I always remember that, again, lots of watchers, listeners out there will be able to have a similarity with this. How many excuses did you used to make when it came to pack up time to your parents, when they used to turn up in the car and they'd be like, right, I'll be there at 5 o'clock. And I remember me and my mate just being there being like, oh, I think I just saw some bubbles coming up over that spot. And, oh, let's tidy this bag up, or we won't wind in yet. And then my dad would come trudging around the lake at 6 o'clock, absolutely fuming. You're supposed to be at the car park at 5. Oh, yeah, but I had a few bleeps, Dad, or so-and-so caught
fish. Bless them, mate. It's funny, isn't it, as well? I'm not quite in that situation. My kids are still very young, but I quite look forward to being in that situation where you go to pick them up, or they're that passionate about whatever it may be. It doesn't have to be fishing, but you know what I mean. And they're eking it out to the last minute, and you just want to get home because you've been at work or something.
Yeah, I know. I think secretly he loved it. Yeah, I think he used to go and have a sneaky beer, to be honest, down at Broadlands in the hut with Pete, who was in the hut. And yeah, I don't think he used to mind it too much, but I never know that if it was a fact or
Yeah,
not.
cool. Go on, Dad.
Right, moving along. So, obviously, that's how you got into the fishing. You did the AD, you were doing the social media, and then you moved on to the Nash podcast. So that's, I went on, did your Nash podcast with you. That was a wicked experience. Like, have you got, obviously, that, how long was that? A couple of years, 3 years? How long were you doing that for?
I think I did 3 years, 6 months. I did 176 episodes. Yeah, one a week. So 100. Yeah, fair old few, mate.
That's absolutely amazing. 176. What were the highlights? Who were your favourite people that you had on that podcast?
I get this all the time, mate. It's an impossible answer that. Like, it is an absolute impossible. Like, and I don't mean to say like be really political, but they're all decent, but for completely different reasons. Yeah. There was, I think that there's a wealth of different people that do the sport for different reasons, and I think the beautiful thing about being a podcast host is in that period of time, you sort of learn so much about the person, and that person might have some great technical insight. They might have some great like mentality sort of insight. You talked a lot about that. They might have something incredible in terms of an experience or a story, but they're all sort of different and meaningful in whatever way. I really did enjoy that time of sort of talking with people, and they're long chats. They're 3-4 hours. There's a lot of time with one person talking, but I think if you're gonna look at things where I don't know, where I was just in awe, if you like. I mean, hands down, of just, I don't know if I was a bit shocked. Probably like Jeremy Wade was like the life that he has led in terms of. I mean, everybody sees the TV, but they don't see the sort of the escapades, the research, the trips, the planning, the 7 or 8 months of the year being away from home trying to make something happen. Yeah. Like being able to do that, like, I don't know, if you're an explorer like a Bear Grylls, the kudos is mega, but because he's producing a fishing film or whatever, which are brilliant and they have a mass following, he's probably not given the same sort of, I don't know, respect. But I was amazed, mate. Survived a plane crash, like caught some mega fish all over the globe, but he lived it. It weren't a presenter. It weren't somebody turning up for a paycheck. He was out there in the bottom of nowhere, at the corners of the globe, trying to find crazy fish that nobody's caught and things that nobody's done. So that got me in terms of like, whoa, it was pretty cool. And then carp angler wise, mate, there's been so many. Adam Pennin, Shelley, Chris Ball, mate. I think back to Ball, bless him, passed away this year. But again, like, just the historical sort of, I don't know, the memory bank he had. He could recall dates, he could recall captures. He's caught them off the top at Wraysbury, 2 in consecutive casts. Like, the guy was an absolute oracle of information, and he didn't, no inkling that he was ill. He was buying floaters. I sent him a load of floaters for this summer to go and catch them. Bless him. So yeah, an incredible gentleman. Shelley, incredible captures. Penning, one of the best storytellers in the world. Dave Levy, £100 carp, like you don't see that every day. Honestly, I could name them all for completely different reasons. I think, yeah, I genuinely can say that from each podcast, there was something that definitely helped me as an angler, whatever that may be, whether that be something technical, whether that be something about just like this session where it's granite and your head's just completely gone and you think, I'm destined not to catch one. You think, well, he's been in a similar situation. You draw from all that information. So yeah, incredibly fortunate, mate. And then also sort of internally, you've got Kev, like Nashy. Jesus, like what a maverick of a bloke. Al, do you know what I mean? Like Al, incredible. He's pretty much not single-handedly, but he's been a massive deciding factor in the success of like Nash, and he is even more million miles an hour than I am, mate. So yeah, mate, it's impossible to pick one, but I genuinely every single one gave me something, and I hope resonated in some regard with the audience who listened and watched them.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's one of the things, having watched those podcasts or listened to them, is that there's such a wide spectrum of anglers that you had on that show, which was awesome. And just doing these little live streams and having, like, people like yourself, friends of mine, come onto this, you just get an opportunity to chat and just to go through things that you wouldn't normally get from a magazine article or from from a book chapter or something. You can just actually see the person. And if you're out there, you can get all of those podcasts, can't you? They're sort of like all archived on, is it the Nash YouTube channel?
You can go on iTunes, Spotify, type in Nash Off the Hook podcast. They're all there, all 176 episodes. I think I don't know how many hours of content, but there's absolute hours. And then you can go on the either the Nash YouTube channel or the Nash Off the Hook podcast YouTube channel, and they're all on there as well. I think the last one that I did was Elmo, Gaz Fairham's mate, real carpy, proper cool geezer. There's some real good technical stuff there about using liquids on the roots of trees, fishing a little guesting pit. Yeah, some real edgy stuff. Putting lead core leaders on spots just without hook baits on, just so they get used to the line and stuff. Loads of cool stuff in there. But they're all available for you to sort of watch, view whenever you want. Doing it, cooking, doing a bit of work. A lot of people do them when they're driving, obviously, because they're a podcast. But yeah, definitely, if you haven't listened to them, go and check them out. There's loads of real good anglers on there. Terrible interviewing, but real good anglers.
Hence why you're now sat in a tent of an evening. So
that's it. I've been kicked out. Now I live in a tent.
Hey, I've got there's a few comments that have come through. I've just clicked over to those. Got Kev Hewitt watching, so it's nice to see you, Kev, watching this.
Big love, Kev. Kev's podcast, great podcast, Kev. He caught loads of big ones, mate. I remember him smashing me up when I went on Bluebells. I'd like scratched 1 or 2 bites. He'd go and have like 13 in like 24 hours, and used to think, oh, I'm dreadful. Gonna give this up and play golf.
Oh, Trev, mate. Yeah, he can definitely catch a few. That boy can. He's a very good angler. I've got Mark's here again. He said, did you ever fish is it Soar? S-O-A-R? Soar, sorry.
River Soar. No, I have fished the Soar, definitely have. I've fished a fair bit of the Soar. Done some piking on there. Haven't caught any carp from the Soar. There are stretches that have got them in. A few chub, a few barbel, a few perch. Yeah, I fished it a lot when I was a kid, actually. I used to fish the bit near Foss Park, Saw Valley Way, that bit, everybody will know that, and the bit further down as well. But yeah, good river. I don't know I've seen a few nice pike out of it and some good chub, but I don't know what it's like at the moment. The canal that I used to fish, they seem to have like the Grand Union that ran through sort of back end of Wigston around that way. That's had a bit of a research. I've seen a few carp come out of that, the bream are back. So yeah, I think they're still about, but the Shire is there's not many places, but there are a few real special ones for sort of Leicestershire and sort of iconic venues, mate. A lot of match fishing, but yeah, they're there if you want to look for them.
It's funny, actually, because like I started off having a bit of a whinge about the litter being all around our rivers and stuff like that, and the condition of it. But the river fishing at the moment, even though we've had, the otters, the cormorants, the pollution, there's still a lot of good fish that are getting caught recently, Hassan. Like it's there seems to be quite a lot of specimens that are coming out, and I think it's just that time, the lifespan of them, the fish coming through. But there's definitely, the rivers seem to be having an upsurgence in anglers going down and fishing them, and I'm finding that to get the variety of fishing that sort of like fits with my lifestyle now, which is shorter sessions, I'm starting to go into sea fishing, river fishing, waters that I wouldn't normally go and pursue. I would have been a carp angler. I'd have been that guy campaigning, putting lead core on the clear spots. Mate, if I put lead core on a clear spot now, it'd probably be about 4 or 5 months until I went back to check it.
Yeah. Mate, I think, yeah, I'm an angler primarily. Yes, I love carp fishing, don't get me wrong. But mate, and we talked about this before, haven't we? I'd gladly, like in the summer, just go and grab a few lures, go off the coast, catch a few bass, wrasse. I love getting the float rod out. I love getting the feeder rod out. I love it all, mate. I genuinely do. I don't know, as I said, I can't put my finger on what it is. It's just that sort of obsession, that connection, that sort of escapism, whatever it is. I don't mind, mate. I genuinely don't mind. But I think if I was pushed to do one, it would be carp angling. And again, I couldn't tell you why. But I love it all, mate.
No, that's wicked. That is wicked. Right, let's have a little. What we're going to move on to now? Oh, we're just going to. Yeah, I've got a few other little bits to go through too, because obviously you left Nash and you're now at Capital Carp. So is
Yeah.
that? So just explain a little bit about what's your role there. Tell people out
Yeah.
there, you know, because I don't. I'll be honest with you. I don't. I've seen the Facebook page and stuff, but I don't really know how big it is, or you know.
That's good that you see the Facebook page, mate. That's part of my
I
job.
do see the Facebook page.
Good.
I do see that.
Good. If everybody shouts like whispers Capital Carp in their phone now, it would trigger the sort of their sort of Facebook searches and advertising forever. So if you want to do that, that'd help me out massively. No, so yeah, I moved from Nash. An opportunity to go to Capital, which is it's a group of companies. There's Capital Carp competitions. There's Capital Catch competitions. There's Hippopotamus clothing. Mark Pictures is there. You probably know Pictures or seen Pictures doing it. But basically, it is a group of companies. It's got the competition sites primarily, but I'm there as a social marketing manager. So essentially for me, all social media, similar to my role sort of at Angling Direct, but instead of just, whereas Bike Nash, I was doing the podcast and filming elements, I'm now looking at the marketing. I'm now looking at social media. I'm now also doing the filming. I'm building a structure whereby there's content that is being produced for Capital Carp competition. It's not just about the competitions. I mean, the competitions are obviously available for everybody to enter. There's 2 draws a week on a Thursday and a Sunday. There's like vans and a mega load of tackle prizes that are available for people to enter, and it's very popular. But in terms of my role, I've obviously got to advertise the competitions that are coming up. I have a big role in terms of producing content. So Capital Angling is our YouTube channel. We've been out filming already. I mean, I think I've been in post 3 weeks. I've been out filming pretty much every single week. So that's going to have a regular hit of content, i.e. a feature video every single week on the YouTube channel. And then that'll be replicated on social media with reels, etc. Basically, just to build the profile of the brand, let people know exactly what it is. As you said there, you're not really 100% sure, and talk about sort of future ventures, expansions, etc. So yeah, it's a growing sort of beast. I mean, yeah, I don't want to sound too sort of cynical, but for me, the refreshing thing is you have a blank canvas. You aren't a brand, so you don't have to, I don't know, maybe like push gear. You can use whatever you want to. It's not really commercial about the gear. It's about spreading the love of fishing, the joy of fishing, getting people to engage with fishing that might not necessarily be sort of everyday anglers. We get loads of people that enter the competitions that probably maybe don't even have an interest in angling, but it's a chance to trigger more people into the sport. There's opportunities to give back and engage new audiences. So a lot of our content will be, it will be less sort of, I don't know, maybe intensive or similar to what's out there. It'll be a lot different, a lot more relaxed, a lot more fun, a lot more sort of hopefully engaging. But you guys will judge that and let me know if I'm onto a shocker or not. So the test of time will tell.
You will do an amazing job, and it's exciting. You know, it's exciting times for you. And I've got honestly no doubts whatsoever that you do an amazing job there. It seems, right up your street.
Fingers crossed, mate. It won't be through a lack of effort, mate. Do you know what I mean? All I can do is try hard, mate. Especially with this nose and this dodgy air. So we'll keep trying.
Right, moving on, my friend. Moving on. This is what I was going to ask you, just because that question about the local river. What's your thoughts, mate? Let's have a little chat now about the close season. What's your thoughts on it as an angler? And I'm talking about not, your personal thoughts here, Hassan, not, I'd
keep it.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because I've played tennis all my life and the scoring system is like 15, 30 deuce. Do you know, like, it don't make any sense. You could change that quite easily, couldn't you? I quite like that little bit of tradition, that little bit of sort of heritage, that little, like, it's always been that way. I know that it probably doesn't fall in the right time in terms of spawning and everything else. I completely get that. But I don't think there's any harm in having a break from the rivers and letting them at least not have angling pressure, even if the fish aren't spawning. Do you know what I mean? I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. I completely get it that I know people's time's limited and they miss out on a bit of time, but I think in a weird way, like, it does give you that buzz, doesn't it? Do you know what I mean? When you go down on on like the 15th and it's midnight and you cast in and you might do it at 11:59. And do you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like, it's I don't know, mate. I think that there's a lot to be said for that, in my opinion. People are completely welcome to theirs. I get that, but for me, I quite like that little bit of tradition just in there. I don't really know why. In some aspects, I'd probably say tradition's not right, but I think for that, I quite like the romance of it. Do you know what I mean?
I think it just seems fitting. It seems right on the rivers. You know, they're so beautiful, natural, wild, and you know, like just have that closed season. Obviously, it wouldn't work on commercials now. You couldn't have a commercial fishery. Like, you know, I used to run a commercial fishery. If I had to shut from the 15th of March through to the 15th, 16th of June, I wouldn't be in a business, you know, because that's the time of year that everyone wants to get out and go fishing, springtime. Christ, you only have a few in this weather in this country. You only have a few months that you can actually sort of sell tickets. But I think for the river, I think it's perfect. And I must admit, I want to get out for the start of the season on the rivers this year. It's been a few years now, probably 10 years since I did a start of season. And
Right.
I'm really looking forward to getting out and having a little go, get that start of season buzz, actually. So, yeah, that's going to be one of my little goals for this year, is to get out for the start of the season and have that little buzz again from the...
Get it done, mate. Get it done. There ain't much better than a June 16th capture, is there?
There's not, mate. No. You're exactly right. Okay, let's moving on. So I've got a few little questions I was going to ask you. The first one is, do you like that, Hassan, eh?
Oh, sponsored by South Coast Rods. Go on, the
South Coast Rods. Who are they? Well, it's funny you should say that, Hassan. It's
it's
quality rod company. But yeah, we've got to get the plug in there, Hassan, haven't we, for South Coast Rods? If you are wanting to come and see South Coast Rods, we are up at Outlaw Pro in Billericay this coming weekend. They've got a big tackle shop show there. We're going to be there for 2 days. So if you fancy coming along and seeing South Coast Rods, pop up to that show. There you go. That's my little plug for South Coast Rods. But anyway, listen, back of the net. Now, this is your opportunity, Hassan, right? To tell us the story about one capture that when that fish went in the net, you had a proper Danny Fairbrass moment. You know, you were like, come on, get in the net, get in there. Yes, go on, boy. One of those ones.
I feel pressure. I feel like this is what Tell must feel like at the start of his ESP filming. You know what I mean? Do you reckon he does it in one? I reckon he does it in one take seamlessly. Do you know what I mean?
Mate, I literally, whilst putting the kettle on, chucking a log on the fire, Dave's there trying to set the camera up, and Tell's already rolling into this beautiful tale of... I
wish I had that in the locker, mate. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I wish I had that in the locker. Crackling fire. It was Castus.
That's it. Caddis all over the margins. That's that's the one, mate.
What a legend.
How he can recall that, Hassan. Like when he tells those stories, he can recall, like, oh yeah, in that morning that I caught this fish, I looked into the margins and there was six caddis climbing up the reeds and the mist was rising. Hey, I look back at my captures and I'm like, how big was that? Or like, I can't even remember what lake it was from, let alone what day or what.
Catch them. Do you know what I mean? At the moment, I'm doing the opposite. I can't recall them, but I'm trying very hard without any success. One capture.
One capture.
Well, I've been fortunate, man. I've had a few. What would I go for as one? Okay. So I don't know if you have it, but there's like places that you fish that somehow, like, I don't know if it's a feeling, if it's an atmosphere or something that you just, I don't know, you just love it. You just click with it instantly. Mm-hmm. So Wraysbury South Lake, I have had a ticket for a very long time and continue to have one. And initially, that lake beat the life out of me. Weedy as, like, it is atypical as everything you've read about Wraysbury in the past. It's the same lake apart from the stock's changed and they've basically chopped it in two. But the South Lake, 70 acres, there's a lot of it that you cannot fish.
Yeah.
And the topography is up and down like an egg box. There's sharp gravel bars, savage snags, massive weed beds. And the first few times I went there, I remember going there with Jake Wildboy, absolutely dusted me up. I fished on the right of this swim and he fished down the middle quite long and he was catching steadily. Another time I went on there and randomly I was filming and I lost my wedding ring.
Oh,
And I was like in the swim, and I remember looking back at the film and seeing like my wedding ring was on when I was lifting fish, and then I went as I got in the car. I was like, "Where's my wedding ring?" Oh mate, I was searching for it. Anyway,
no.
it basically absolutely battered me for like 3 or 4 sessions on the bounce, and I remember still feeling really like. I don't know if it's the history element or just being there, even with all the planes going over and stuff. I remember just really loving the fishing. Like, it was always positive. You put a load of bait in, find a clear spot, which took you ages because it was so weedy. But it was always quite challenging, but always like you felt like you could always do something to get a bite. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Anyway, I fished it for a period of time, found a real sort of, you know, when you find that method that sort of clicks, you find a baiting strategy, you find a hook bait, you find areas that consistently you sort of build a picture of the lake where you could go there in those conditions, fish that spot in that swim, feed like this, and you're pretty much not guaranteed because it's carp, but you're very, very confident. So over a period of time, I'd done sort of the legwork. And I remember giving away an Angling Trust, ties in beautifully, auction to come fishing with me. I don't know if that, I mean, that's not a prize, bless him. But somebody, is his name Charlie? I can't remember, but sorry for forgetting your name, but a really nice gentleman won the prize. Rang me up, says, I want to come fishing. And it was May. And I remember thinking, oh, it's May. Like, everyone knows May is big carp month. And I'd been putting bait on a spot in a particular swim on Wraysbury, basically a big open swim, big open water area.
And what swim was it? Those people that fish.
No carp, no, the Hooligan, no carp bay.
Yeah.
So as you come in on the right, big open swim. In the middle of that swim, I won't take the wraps, but in the middle of that swim, there is a real pronounced gravel bar that goes to 8 foot on top, and everything around it is 15 foot. Clear as a whistle, and I've been baiting the life out of it. I'd put a lot of bait on it, and it was all coming up to this time in May. He'd called me and he said, "Look, I can only do May. I'm going away with work." Blah, blah, blah. And I said, "Okay, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll go to Wraysbury. I will go and fish the Hooligan swim. You can fish that spot if you want that I've been putting bait on. You'll catch a few fish. Like, it is cock on for it." Wind was coming in. Beautiful warm day. We walked around Wraysbury. We looked at, like, as you do, you look at Dredger Bay, you look at all the sort of historic swims. We had a lovely little tour, lovely chat, real nice gent. And we got in the swim, and I said, "Look, the spots are there. Aim at the W in the tree line, hit the clip, and you'll feel it absolutely crack down." It was relatively long, but not that long. Happy days, you'll catch them. And he was like, no, you've been baiting it. I don't want to fish a spot. Like, I want you to put the rods out. I was like, oh, I don't want to put the rods out. You've won an auction. I'm not putting the rods out. You crack on. He goes, no, I insist you put the rods out. So I was like, okay, I'll put them out on dark. But you're happy to the spot. Long and short of it, he wouldn't have the spot. He found another spot shorter to the left, which I'd caught off before, but I hadn't been baiting. It was one of those, like, you know, those nights you get in sort of spring where there's just not a breath of wind. The moon weren't like out, but it was light in terms of you could see everything. Not a ripple.
Just watch the water and just see,
It just didn't. In the day, it looked bang on. There was a nice ripple trickling in, but it just flattened off to nothing. I thought, oh, this is tricky for sort of nighttime bites. Early morning will be all right. I think we had a pizza or something, tucked in at midnight. And as I tucked in, I was tucking into bed. As I put my head down, I've heard one slosh out. I've looked up, and in the moonlight, I've seen a fish bosh, not too far away from where my rods were placed on this spot. Anyway, I've gone to bed. You know, when you've got no concept of time. Matey boy next to me's gone to bed, obviously with me, and then at literally like midnight, I think it was at the end. I've had like the middle rod as like I'm on braid. It has gone absolutely Kerry Katona.
Yeah.
And I'm fishing free on a spot with loads of weed on braid. I've got and as soon as I've hit it, have lifted into it, I've gone like, this is a good one. And I've had a fair few 30s, decent 30s from there. And as I've played it, you know, when it's taken and it's slow. It's just a steady motor. And that swim, you've got a big open front to it. On the left, you've got this big peninsula. And then on the right, you've got like a channel which goes in, and there's a big measure for the sort of the depth of the water. Mm-hmm. So I'm playing it, and it's just it stopped running out, and it's come in and kited on a tight line right. And I know that if it's far, it could get round this measure into that bay. It's full of snags. I know it's a good fish, and I've had that moment where you have to clamp down, do the clutch up a bit. You're on braid, it's a bit hairy, but the fish is going hell bent for sort of round this measure and into the snags. And I've just waded out as much as I possibly could, dropped the rod under the water and just cringed and pumped. And I've sort of slowly turned it, and it's coming literally round this measure. And just before my braid gets anywhere near the measure, it just turned, started to kite out into open water. And I thought, oh, thank the Lord. And I sort of breathed out, if you like. As soon as I've breathed out and tried to get myself back to sort of terra firma, it's done exactly the same thing. And about 4 or 5 times, it's tried to find this little channel behind this measure, which is full of like fallen trees, snags, zebra mussels. It is absolute death. Gradually, it's sort of less and less. I've got it on a shorter and shorter line, but it's just not getting off the bottom at all. Like, you know, it's a big one. You like when you play them, you just know it's on braid, and you get the classic sort of pinging off the back, which is even more pronounced on braid. Like, it's the stuff of nightmares, isn't it? It's one of those. If you lose it, it's the British record. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's the chap who was with me's come down. Head torches are off. The moon's like bright enough. There's planes coming over. It is like you sort of put yourself in the shoes of like Pete Springate, Shelley when they're playing Mary, and you think, oh, this is what it's about, big carp. You're playing it, and I got a glimpse of it, and it didn't look very big. It just looked like a 20-pounder. It's like a quite creamy thing. Anyway, flicked the head torch off, carried on playing it, and I was like, this thing won't come off the bottom. I must have half a weed bed with it or something. Eventually, I've sort of, God knows how I've not picked up another line because it was my middle rod. I've just sort of teased it, and as it's hit the top and breached, I've sworn, and I've sworn loud, and I've gone like, get it in, like, basically. And he was like, do you want me to net it? And I was like, look, at this stage, just get it in the net. Like, I've gone. I know.
I don't care if you gap it, just get it in.
Gone, mate. You know when you've gone, haven't you? My head's completely gone. I'm like, please don't come off. There's a pink pop-up just like hanging here in its bottom lip, and I'm thinking, oh God. Anyway, I've teased it over, it's gone in. And I've just dropped the rod, like, again, no care for gear here. I've just stacked the rod on the floor. I've ran to the front of the swim to the net. I've lifted it up and peeped in it with the old head torch on full. I've just gone, that is huge. Like, I didn't know of a 40 that had come from the South Lake.
Yeah.
Yet in its new form. Obviously, back in the day, you've got Mary and the likes of, but I didn't know of a 40. And I'd spoke to the lads quite a lot. Anyway, I composed myself, had a coffee. I was wide awake, buzzing. And then I was like, look, you can't sling them up, but I would never even contemplate that. It's a big fish. Give it a bit of a rest in the landing net, get it out, weigh it. It went 42 something, which was the first 40 of the new South Lake. A fish
common or mirror?
Big mirror, just a big plain, like, it's one of the stockies that's just shot. I think it's called the hooligan fish now. It's been caught subsequently. It's nearly 50 pounds now. But I think that was the first one over 40 in the new South Lake. And I remember that night, like, just riding that sort of adrenaline high when you hook something on a big water like that with the moon out, and you really do not know what to expect. It didn't have a name. I didn't know it existed, and it just pops up, and you think, this is just a sliver of what all those greats that have been like way before my time and have paved the way for me, they must have felt when something like that rolled over the net. Do you know what I mean? You just don't know what it is. And I just remember that buzz being so like stark. Like, I just couldn't sleep. I was absolutely buzzing. And then what topped it off was that he went and caught a couple the next morning. Do you know what I mean? Which is what more do you want? Like, yeah. So it don't happen often, mate. But that would be the one that I think is etched just for the pure sort of level of buzz. Mega.
Oh man, that's awesome. I can picture it. You know, I fished South Lake and around the Horton
Yeah,
area, and you know, I can picture that. You know, I had to, I won't go into the whole story, but I had a similar sort of thing that didn't end as well as your one. But I'd had a few. I was fishing a spot in Dredger Bay, and
yes,
I'd been baiting it. I was driving up from Southampton, going and baiting it twice a week. This is when it first got stocked with the stockies,
love it.
and then I was fishing it one night a week, Thursday nights, and I was
Yeah,
doing that for about 3 weeks. And then one night I'd had the fish really rocking on this spot, fishing 3 rods on a spot.
yeah.
And oh, hang on. My monitor was just about to turn off. And I think I'd had 4 or 5 fish that night. And then my middle rod it was a completely different take. It just pulled up very slowly to the top and then was just off the tight clutch. And I
Yeah.
hit into it and straight away I was like, this is different gravy. This is insane. And I was using powerful rods at the time and they just hooped over. And the drag was just tick, 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 like this. It just was going out of the bay. You're going out to the back of the dredger, going around the back of the island. I thought, I've got to stop it. I clamped down on it, and it literally dragged me down the steps into the water and then just started kiting. And then
So where were you? Dredger Point?
Yes,
Point?
you know Dredger Point. Yeah, so
Yeah.
one round from Rafts, actually in Dredger
Yeah.
Point,
Oof.
fishing up there to the gravel spot, and it took me out, like just straight out. And then it started kiting, and it kited on a tight line. It went basically past the point of the island. I couldn't do anything about it, and then just hit those snags, and it was gone. But yeah, just left that moment of just being left in the water, just like shaking, like I've got no idea what was that. You know, like if someone had told me there was £100 catfish in there, I'd have sworn blind. That's what I hooked. But yeah, it truly is a magical place, Hassan, Wraysbury. And
It's the place of myths and legends, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Mate, yeah. Didn't someone catch like a monstrous eel there once? Like about 11, I don't know, like a £10 eel or something like that?
Mate, it's done the British tench record, hasn't it? There. It's done massive massive eels. Yeah. Had the British tench record for ages. Springate and everybody. Brilliant podcast when he came on to the old Nash one with me. Like great chat about Wraysbury. But the first time he fished it was tench fishing because it had the pedigree of sort of, it didn't have a lot of them, but my God, it had big uns. But yeah, it did the tench record. It's done big eels. It's done big pike. And obviously, well, yeah, British record carp, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's an insane venue. Yeah, it's a magical place. Right, cool. Thank you for that. That was awesome. Well, I love that story. I love that story a lot.
My best tell there, mate. No crackling fire. Apologies. I tried.
No, that's all right. But we've got the ambient light and the bivvy. It's almost as good. I do like it.
Double light setup here for you, mate. This is very tech.
Very nice. I feel privileged. Right, moving on. Boom. Big ups, bruv. Supported by our friends at Nash Tackle. Believe it or not, Hassan.
Yes, boys.
Yeah, so this is your opportunity. What I like to do is on my podcast, I want to give my guests the opportunity, live stream, it's not a podcast, live stream, the opportunity to just give a big ups to someone that maybe doesn't get recognized in the industry, has either done something for them or does something for the fishing community. You know, those unsung heroes, and there's so many of them out there. So just your opportunity to give a big ups, bruv, to someone and a pat on the back.
Oh, there's loads. There's so many. As you say, they don't probably get the exposure, the credit, or whatever they deserve. I think locally for me, as I'm up in Manchester, I think Dave Marshall, Ramsbottom Anglers, incredible junior setup. Absolutely hats off to him. Like, to organise those juniors and to have that many juniors that turn up to fish is brilliant. He's an absolute force of a bloke, and that whole Ramsbottom Angling Club is, yeah, it's brilliant for sort of juniors. So hats off to those guys. I think Anne over at Brooms Cross, who does sort of a lot of the coaching and stuff out that way, again, an absolute force of nature. And like, she graphs, she's done a lot in and around Merseyside. She again definitely doesn't get the credit she deserves, but a brilliant sort of, I don't know, an engaging person again that does so much for our sport. A good mate of mine, I mean, he's a boy, but Dave Lyons, like, for Tackling Minds, top bloke. Everyone would have seen, hopefully, Dave's story, and if you haven't, go over to Tackling Minds now. He's been through a lot, Dave. He's been there, done it, got the t-shirt, and that's why I think he holds sort of a lot of clout with people. Do you know what I mean? He's not saying it for any other reason apart from to try and stop other people doing what he's done, and he helps an awful lot of people with mental health issues through fishing, which is really positive. So I think, all of those guys, and I think finally Les Webber down at Angling Projects, not too far from Wraysbury, mate. Top bloke, Angling Projects, like set it up on his own, has scout groups and all sorts, even to this day go down, and it's a whole sort of thing that pretty much he's sort of done off his own back. So there's an awful lot of people there that I wish that I could keep shouting out, but this show would be sort of 5 million hours long. There's a lot of people that do it just for the love and the benefit of the sport and not for any other reason. And fair play to fair play.
And that's cool. I just think it's really nice to give those people, they, like you say, they might not be the people that are the podcast, guests or the, people that get invited to write articles for the top magazines, but they are vital for our sport. So big up to all those people that you mentioned. I'm going to chuck one out there because you mentioned the fishing clubs. Godalming Angling and Marsh Farm. I know those guys up there. They do a fantastic job. So well done, Marsh Farm. That's a lovely setup up there as well. Right, moving along. Next one. We're almost done, Hassan. I'll let you get back to your fishing.
No, you're cool, mate. I'm only going to. I'm going to cook. I'm going to cook a steak and eat a late dinner. It's 9:30, isn't it?
You got a steak on the
finest
bank.
Steak. Lancashire's finest fillet steak, mate.
Well, let's have a look. Go on, bring it up. Let's have a look. How the other half live?
It's down in the other bivvy, mate. So I'm not going in Lister's bivvy to get it, mate.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Right. Okay. Every day is a school day. This one here, Hassan. Is there an occasion or a situation where you have just been absolutely amazed and schooled by something you didn't think would work, and you just walked away thinking, you know what? Every day is a school day. I've learned something completely new, and I'm going to go put that into my fishing.
Yes, many a time. Probably should have tried it today, to be fair. It's a bit schoolboy of me. I fished Ringstead back in the day. Kevin Maddox stocked it. Had some really big fish in there. I fished a little pool called Crackers, which was the pool next to Ringstead. You had to do basically some fishing on Crackers to prove that you could deal with a fish to go on Ringstead. I remember fishing on there one day, and the fish being just pre-spawning, they were massive. Like, there was a lot of big ones in that small water, proper small water, like 3 acres, like quite deep. Used the marginal shelf a lot, a little bit of weed interspersed, but basically you found a clear spot inshore, baited with a light spread of boilie, and you used to get bites. Anyway, pre-spawning, those fish would just come off the deck and they just sit pretty dormant in the layers. You'd see them in all their glory, but it'd be hard to get a bite. There'd be a few shallow areas down the bottom end where you could nick a bite, but when they were taken and you were fishing sort of in the main area, if you like, of the lake, zigs, there was a chance, but realistically they were sort of relatively doggo. And I remember seeing a fish sort of behave like that, struggling to catch them, apart from when I got into the shallow water swim. And then I had a chat. I can't remember his name. A really nice bloke, used to fish it, quite an older gentleman, and he had a floater set up. And I remember seeing, you remember those old candles?
Yeah, they're like little white candles.
Candle? Yeah, like a candle, but like an inline job. He had one of them, and he had it locked with like 2 rubber stoppers, so it was like semi-fixed, and then a little swivel, and then he had a longer hook length, probably about 3 foot, and then on the bottom of it he had just like a bunch of worms. And I remember thinking, oh, what's he doing here? Like, he goes, oh, like, this is how I catch them. And he'd just done a session I was going on. He goes, this is how I catch them when they're a bit sort of do you know what I mean? And they're sort of not really doing a lot. I sort of drift this down on the wind, and I was like, yeah, no, that's it, mate. You know, like floaters maybe, but like that's not surely going to do a bite. Anyway, it goes, oh, like next time if you're coming out, because they were due to spawn, like I'm going to go up. I won't say the lake for once, but I'm going to go to another lake down in the Neem Valley, quite an old historic lake. It's got a few nice fish in it. And I said, oh, okay, we'll go up then. So closed Ringstead, got in the cars, he had another night. I had a couple of nights. We went to this other lake, and we found them. We found them in a corner. The lake's about 5 acres. The corner, 2 acres, really sort of like quite open. Then you get a bottleneck, and then you get this little bay. So it's probably an acre, maybe, this little corner. Like teardrop shape, pointy at the end. But the drift was straight into this bay, and they were all just sat there, two foot below the surface. And I remember him going, "Oh, well, I'm not going to put anything out on the deck. My plan was to bait a few spots on the entrance and the sort of bay, and then just fish it and just leave them and hope they drift onto it and have a bit of bait. I didn't want to put anything in there, if you like. I did fire a few floaters and they didn't really have it. Anyway, he got this contraption out, and I remember seeing him fit it with like a 1.5 foot hook length, and he had this candle, and he used like grease, if you like, to like muslin or grease or whatever to muslin to float the line. So he did all that, screwed his hook length up, and then he got a big bunch of worms, monster bunch of worms, big old hook, like must have been a size 6. We were all using 8s back then. Do you know what I mean? When 8s was a big hook. He was on a big size 6. He loaded it full of worms, and he put a bit of foam. I remember him cutting a bit of rig board foam, not zig foam, not off his rig board. He cut it, and he put it on over the barb, and it sank so slowly. This bunch of worms. And I remember thinking, "You're having a laugh? Are you chucking that out there? Like 15-pound line straight through?" I remember thinking, "Nah, no way, mate." First cast, he's literally cast it in there, let it drift in, and it's like I don't know, like the ultimate floater take. The float's just bobbed and then just gone off. And I remember him just lift into it, big eruption, and like he had one, like a good 30, a nice 30, but again a big creamy mirror. I remember thinking, that's got to be so jammy, mate. Do you know what I mean? You must have literally timed that to absolute perfection. Like, he must be proper muggy. Anyway, he's only repeated it 3 times before it's got dark and before I've even properly got rods out. So he's had 3 30-pounders. Bearing in mind the stock's probably 50 carp, with a couple of, the top were 2 really nice commons at like 40s, and he had like basically all the sort of BT mirrors. And I was like, you are having a laugh. Subsequently, I've used it on a number of places and done very, very, very well. A little controller, a short hook length, some slow sinking worms or maggots or something. And honestly, like when they're a bit doggo and they're up in those layers and they're just resting up and they don't really want anything, can be the one.
Like you say, every day is a school day, mate. And well, I think we get stuck in our ways, don't we? But basically what he's doing is going back to an old waggler tactic of just basically drifting a waggler in there, isn't he? You know, fishing the right depth. It's what we learn when we're kids. Find the depth the fish are at, fish to the right depth.
I don't know what you think. Again, like I do it all the time. You think back and you think like, do you know, why have I made this so complicated? Back in the day, that would have been an instinct to just do that. That's what, you know what I mean? That's what, instead of from the bottom up, you fish from the surface down. It makes sense, doesn't it? But you, as you say, you get sort of you get pigeonholed in your thinking sometimes. But yeah, I just remember thinking, I'm an absolute nod. I thought this bloke's going to literally struggle all session, and he's gone and made me look a proper idiot. And there's me with like all my new gear, my fancy baits, and catching absolutely jackal. I did nick a stocky in the morning though, so that's all right.
Oh, there you go. You didn't blank, mate. I'm going to remind me to come back to gear in just a minute. But I've got some points that have come through here. So from Angling Coach, with the popularity of underwater fishing videos, have you changed your rigs or approach to fishing based on any underwater videos that you've seen?
No. I'm not really. I don't know. I think if you speak to every top angler, they have different rigs. No one has the same rigs. Yes, we make adjustments in materials. You make adjustments in sort of maybe more structural things like the length of it, depending on the bottom you're fishing on. But in terms of the actual hooking mechanics, components might change with time as they get sort of better or more refined. But no, like I have probably 3 or 4 rigs that I'm confident in, and I don't change them apart from maybe the length to suit where I'm fishing, or a component if a new component comes out and I feel like trying it. But in terms of the actual mechanics of the rig, no, mate. I use a Ronnie rig. I use a blowback rig if I'm fishing wafters or on the deck. I will use a hinge stiff or a choddy, and that's pretty much me, mate. Maybe a solid bag, and that's pretty much me. It's pretty standard. It's pretty boring, but again, like, I've got confidence in those rigs. I know that if they're feeding and I've put it in the right place, I'm in for a good shout. To use loads of different things or chop and change, fishing's so situational. How fish feed one day is very different in the same lake to how they might feed another day. And I think if you sort of, I don't know, if you could see your rigs every time and you got into that sort of thought process, I think it's a dangerous place to go.
It is.
I've changed. I have had occasions where I can think. Last week I was fishing S&R fisheries and I got done. I was fishing like a no fishing bank, quite tight, and I remember fishing sort of blowback rigs on the deck with wafters. I remember having a big drop back and just literally connecting with nothing. Lead had gone, completely done. And I remember then just changing the hook length material to a stiffer hook length so that they didn't have as much play to sort of shake, get rid of it. And I didn't drop a fish, touch wood, after that. So I do things like that. But in terms of the actual hooking arrangement, I'm pretty boring. I wish I had a wonder rig or something. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's interesting. You watch those underwater ones, and some of it, like, we get done all the time. I've got this, so I've gone back to basics. I'm doing this challenge thing where I've just got one very simple bit of kit. And I've always loved just a very simple knotless knotted braided hook link, right? And whenever I want confidence, I always go back onto YouTube and watch this Corda video. And it was when Daryl Peck joined Corda, and he went to Sandhurst as a young man, and he was sat with Adam Penning, right? And Adam Penning's like, right, Daryl, you've caught some of the biggest fish in the country. You've had these ones out in the car park lake. You've had two-tone. Show us your rigs. And it was the same freaking rig. It was just, and he's like, well, this is the rig that I caught, like Heather with, and this is the one I caught Dustbin with. And he's like, well, what did you catch two-tone with? And he's like, well, that one was a bit different. He said, I knew two-tone liked to pop up. So I stuck a BB shot an inch away from the thing and cast it on a shelling fish, and an hour later. And it just, whenever I get confused with rigs, I always go back to that video, and I'm like, if it was good enough back in the day to go onto car park when people were trying to fish, super glue 2 bits of hemp seed on the back of a size 8 hook to try and fool them, and Daryl went down there and emptied it, fishing boilies and a braided hook link, you don't have to confuse it. It's all about your watercraft and getting them feeding.
Yeah, too right, mate.
I don't. Is my audio okay? I'm getting a bit of feedback, but I don't know if it's at my end or at your end, Hassan. But I think
I'm good here, mate. I can hear you pretty well.
Good stuff. Good stuff. We're coming towards the end, buddy. But I do have. So what I'd like to do is all of my guests, every single one of my guests, I always give you the opportunity just to say a big thank you to your sponsors, because I know that as an angler, you've probably got people out there that you'd like to thank, and just to give whoever it is, just give you the opportunity. So over to you, mate. Is there anyone that you'd like to thank for your fishing sort of sponsorship or for your fishing?
Yeah, mate. Mate, thanks to everyone. I'm very fortunate. I've met an awful lot of very good people in the trade. I've got very good friends in the trade. Nash boys, obviously, everybody at Capital, obviously. Angling Trust, I'm an Angling Trust ambassador, so Jamie, all of you guys. But I think primarily is people, mate. I love, and don't get me wrong, like, I love interacting with people, and I'm very fortunate in the job that I do, being on social media and doing all that thing, that I meet people out on the bank. I get to interact with them in sort of comments or on content that's put out. And I love that, mate. So thank you to everybody who has liked, commented, shared, ever sort of done anything like with regards to any content or anything that I've put out there. Honestly, I'm massively appreciated, all of it. And I know that I am incredibly fortunate to be in the position I am, doing the job I do. And that is all dependent on people sort of, giving that feedback and sort of accepting that. So a massive shout out to everybody out there who's watched content, who's an angler, who goes out there and does their thing. And mate, more power to all of you. May you catch many a carp of a lifetime.
Ah, that's awesome. That is awesome. Right, finally. Actually, I'm going to ask you. I've just seen. I've got a question for you, Hassan.
Here we
How
go.
the hell do you keep your hair looking that good whilst you're on the bank? Honestly, this is a serious question, because whenever I go on a bank, I've got beanie hats on. Have you got
Yeah, you
products?
don't- I mean,
Have you got products?
Don't wear hats, mate. That's the first rule of Hair Club. This is a different niche podcast now, isn't it? We've gone into Vidal Sassoon. I'd like to thank my sponsors. They are L'Oreal. No, I'm joking. My hair is like, I would say it's Lego, but it's just so like trained that it stays. I've got a little bit of hairspray in it, but realistically, I can get 3 days out of this, and then it
What,
starts to
without
sort of
touch,
wane.
like it will stay that
Yeah,
looking
like
that
look,
good for 3 days.
it's like it's got wet today, and it's sort of stayed there. Like, but I often think that if it does go, I'm screwed because I've got a massive nose and I'm not very tall. That gives me an extra, what's that? Couple of inches. Also detracts from this schnozzer, doesn't it? Look at that side profile. That's hard work, mate. So
Beautiful,
yeah,
mate. Beautiful.
I'll take that, like, for now. But the inner secrets of the hair, I mean, I can't divulge them on a live like this, mate. Do you know what I mean?
No, that's for private tuitions and stuff like that,
Yeah,
isn't it? Yeah, that's it.
tuitions now.
That's it.
Now we're
That's-
talking.
That's the way you need to get to. Right, mate, just before you go, I've put together the great tennis quiz because I've heard that you are a dab hand, or forehand and backhand, at the old tennis. And I know you've got back into this. So I'm going to see if this is... What's that?
I've played a bit, mate. Like you and your basketball, mate.
Well, I tried getting into it. Mate, do you know what? I'll tell you. January, I got well into my fitness. Yeah, I was doing so good. I was off alcohol. I was on a big, massive diet. I was doing fitness all the time, feeling really good all the way through January. Do you know what happened on the 1st of February? I got gout. I got gout, Hassan. I got gout. I had gout for about 7 weeks. I couldn't even walk properly on my foot. I was like, that is what happens when you get to 43 years of age. You just try and get fit, and then I got gout. So, you know.
Well,
telling me something.
I think who got gout? Jake Wildboar. One of the Wildboars got gout at a very young age. He will laugh if he's here. He probably listen to this, but if he does, if he ever gets this by proxy, it must be the sort of ailment of the elite athlete. I think. Do you know what I mean? Because yeah, those Wildboars are elite.
Right, okay, so this tennis quiz, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the nicknames of some tennis players. You need to tell me who the tennis player is to give you the kudos for being a tennis player. Now, if you get all these wrong, I'm not going to believe that you're a tennis player, Hassan.
You've made me look a mug at the end of your life. That is brutal, isn't it? This wasn't even, like, talked about in the plan. Unbelievable.
Well, you're supposed to have caught a fish by now. I'm pissed off, but you haven't caught one, so you're still here at the end.
I'll be here a while, boy.
Right, okay, first one. We have got the Rocket Man. Who is the Rocket Man?
The Rocket? Are these real tennis players?
Mate, Wikipedia tennis players, mate. The Rocket Man. Think
Who
about
would
it.
be called the Rocket Man? Pat Cash. I ain't got a clue.
Oh, no. Andy Roddick.
Andy Roddick was called the Rocket. Who called him the Rocket Man?
Don't know. This is what it says on Wikipedia, mate. I'm not. Don't blame the sources. Do not blame the sources, mate.
Oh, this is good. This might be a very low-scoring quiz for me. The Rocket Man.
I think it will. The Bulldozer.
Oh, come on, mate. What is this? The Bulldozer.
You said you played tennis, Hassan. Come on.
I did play tennis. I didn't play nickname quizzes. The Bulldozer. Who would be called a Bulldozer? A big lad.
To be fair, mate, I don't even know who this guy is. So,
who would be a Bulldozer? A big lad. A big lad. John Isner.
Oh no, David Ferrer. Do you even know who that is?
David Ferrer. David Ferrer.
That's it.
Is the Bulldozer.
He's the Bulldozer. He is
tiny.
The Bulldozer.
He's tiny. He's got curtain long hair, and he looks like sort of a weird Leonardo DiCaprio Titanic lookalike. He's called the Bulldozer. Maybe he's from Spain. He's from Spain, so maybe that's the bull reference.
Maybe it's not to do with his tennis performances. Maybe it's some other type of performance. You know, I don't know. Nice. I don't know.
Nice. If this was a question of sport, I'd be struggling here, wouldn't I?
You would indeed. You wouldn't. Right. Can't miss Swiss.
Oh, that's got to be Rog, hasn't it?
I'll give you another. Hang on. Think female. Think female.
Martina Hingis.
Yes, you've got one. Boom.
I was given a chance there. Think of two Swiss tennis players, Roger Federer and Martina Hingis.
There you go. There you go. You're redeeming yourself. Emo. don't know who this guy is either. Emo, old tennis player.
What,
Back in
say?
the day. Emo.
Emo? As in, like,
Emo.
listens to emo music and it's a bit gothy and a bit sad.
EMMO. He's an old boy. Back in the day. Won a load of championships.
An old boy back in the day was called Emo. Who am I going to go for? Who's old back in the day? I'm not going to go for John McEnroe. Is not emo, surely.
No.
Jimmy Connors, no. Who's old back in the day? Max Wielander.
Oh, no. It's Roy Emerson. I don't know who that is, but Roy Emerson. Is he an old boy? He's an old tennis player, isn't he?
He'd be old, yeah. Roy Emerson.
Don't
Don't even know who he is, mate. And
right.
I've played tennis.
Come on, mate. We can do this. You can get another one. Who's this? What? FedEx.
Federer.
Yes.
Yes, that's Mike. I'm there. 2 for 5 or whatever.
You've got 2 for 5. The Great Dane is a female.
Oh, it's a female.
The Great Dane.
Who's Danish? Well, that's tough. Steffi Graf was German, so it's not her. Monica Seles, I don't know what. She wasn't Danish, though. Who's Danish?
I'm checking the comments to see if anyone knows.
The Great Dane. That's it's a dog breed, isn't it? The Great Dane.
Maybe she looks like a Great Dane.
Martina Navratilova, she wasn't Danish, though. I can't think of a Danish female tennis player. That's bad, isn't it?
So it was Caroline
Wozniacki. Oh,
that's it.
Caroline Wozniacki.
She is the Great Dane, apparently. There you go. Right, you got 2 more, mate. Come on, you can get these last 2. You can get these last 2.
Let's finish strong.
Let's finish strong. Generator.
Is this a joke or what? Generator. The Generator. Is it a female or male? Give me a clue.
It's a female. It's a female.
The Generator. She should be on Gladiators, mate. I watch that with the girls. They love it. That's a great
Generator. It's the Generator. With a tennis racket smashing people off a bridge.
Well, it'd be called a generator. What's it? Loads of like really athletic, runs around a load.
It's the clue is in the sort of first part of the generator.
Oh, it's not Jeannie Bouchard or something, is it?
No, you're close. Yeah, you're getting the right idea with the
Billie Jean King.
No, Jennifer Capriati.
Oh my God, mate.
Even I've heard of her, mate, and I didn't know she was called the Generator. I didn't even know tennis players had nicknames, mate, but I just looked it up. I didn't know. What was your nickname? Did you have a nickname?
No.
Did you have a nickname?
Bang Average would be my nickname. Bang Average.
Right, last one, mate. If you get this right, then, you know, we'll forgive you. But if you get this wrong, then it's been a poor performance, Hassan, I've got to say. Right. Iceman. What's that?
Stefan Edberg.
No, it sounds like it should be, though, doesn't it? Same era.
Iceman. Bjorn Borg.
Yes. Yes. You finished strong. You finished strong. You are a tennis player in my mind, Hassan. You've got that one. You got the last one right. Well done, buddy. Well done.
Health and glory there, have I? But we can play with it.
Stick to the carp angling, mate. 176 podcasts or something.
A bit at the moment too. So golf, mate. Golf.
Maybe golf, mate. We'll go for a round of golf. Hassan, thank you so much, my friends. I really, really appreciate your time.
Love G. Big love everybody for watching. Thank you guys and girls.
Yeah, and good luck with the fishing. Good luck with the new job, mate. And I'm sure we'll bump into each other soon. And yeah, thank you very much for all the support you've given me and also everyone else in the industry, man. Because without people like you doing the podcast and bringing their stories to life and stuff, we wouldn't know about them. So it's, you know, those 176 podcasts, whatever it was, you know, were honestly sort of like inspirational and I think it gave angling a new type of voice, if that makes sense, doing this new podcast sort of thing. It's yeah, it's been absolutely fantastic. But I'll leave you to go to do your fishing, my friends. Thank you so much. Take it easy.
Thanks for watching. Take care. If you're out fishing, the very best of luck, G. I will catch up with you soon, mate. Thank you. You're an absolute gent. Cheers.
Big love, mate. See you soon. All right, everyone, that is Hassan. I hope you've enjoyed that. I've loved catching up with Hassan. Really, really enjoy coming on to these shows, catching up with my friends, having a good chatter in my shed. Hopefully you've enjoyed it as well. Please remember, do slap the little thumbs up icon to show YouTube that you like this, or Facebook. And please, please, please subscribe to the channel. You don't get spammed a load of stuff. It just lets you know when I upload a new video. I've got some product reviews coming up. I've got my challenge series, got more live streams planned, loads and loads of stuff planned for the future. So please, please, please go and do that. But for now, we're just going to finish off. We're going to bring the music back in. There we are. Right, that is it for Fishing with G, the last live stream. I am supposed to be going out boat fishing this weekend, so we'll see if the weather is good for that. I've got the show up at Outlaw Pro as well, so if you do want to come to that, come and see us up at Outlaw Pro, us being South Coast Rods. You can see the ST13s, the ST12s. I'll be there, Stu will be there, some of the team members will be there, so come on up and see us there. Hopefully you've enjoyed this live stream, people. Big love to everyone out there. Enjoy the rest of your night, and I'll catch you on the next Fishing with G. With G, go fish with me. If you like what you see, subscribe. It's Fishing with G, go fish with me. If you like what you see,